My name's Dana. I'm a BSW student at U of C. I just want to let you know that anything we talk about here is confidential. It's just between you and I. So you can tell me whatever you want to, and you don't have to worry about it being told to anyone else. Unless there is a perception that there could be some harm to others or yourself, then I might have to disclose that, but otherwise, whatever you say. If there's any questions that I ask that you don't want to answer, just pass. And just go for it, whatever you want to talk about.
Thank you. So I sort of got into it with my boyfriend last night. He's, don't get me wrong, he's super smart and he's great, but he likes to make sure you know it. And it gets agitating. And he speaks in a way that is almost like Shakespearean. Like he really has this vocabulary that is so big and he loves to use it. And sometimes it just comes off so condescending and agitating. And last night I said something that, you know, it's been a long week. I'm exhausted. And I used a word incorrectly.
Okay.
And he wouldn't let it go. For over an hour, he sat and picked over why I used the one word incorrectly and just wouldn't drop it. And it was agitating.
I can understand how that would be frustrating, especially if, like you say, you'd had a long week already, and so you're just kind of not in a place, you're just trying to be comfortable and talk, and that's not the time where you want your vocabulary picked apart.
Yes.
So we've got a short time together. What is it that you're hoping to get out of this, just so we know kind of where to focus?
I think I would like to maybe figure out what I could have done differently to not let it snowball as much. Because I know I'm not the best person to fight with, and so I definitely didn't make the situation better. And that's something I would like to fix.
Okay, so you'd like to prevent this kind of from going, you'd like it maybe in future when something happens to be able to have more of a productive conversation about it, resolve an issue, and not have it turn into a huge thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. So, how did it make you feel when he picked you apart, or picked, you know, your words apart?
It's hurtful, and it makes me feel like an idiot when he sits and picks apart little things like that, because it almost comes off like he's the bigger and better person, and he needs to like teach me, and it just makes me feel dumb, but he won't stop.
And have you ever told him this before?
Yes, but only when things get really bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would I be correct to assume then kind of emotions are already heightened at this point, and maybe you both start saying things that are a little bit heated, and so perhaps it could be possible that he doesn't actually understand how it really makes you feel, just because of kind of the dynamic in the moment.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right, it's good that we know that,
Yeah.
right? So do you think, is he approachable? Like, do you feel like this is something you could bring up to him, just not in the moment, just kind of separately from, you know, can I talk to you about something?
Yeah. I think not in the moment. He would be very approachable to talk to.
Okay.
In the moment, absolutely not.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's great, because then we kind of already have a good idea of how to go about this.
Yeah.
And do you feel comfortable bringing it up?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might not be the most comfortable thing to talk about, but I think you sort of have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, or you're just going to have this thing happen
Exactly.
over and over again, right? And communication is something that needs to be dealt with. And two people, different personalities, like it's a learning curve forever.
Yeah.
On how to do this stuff. So, I mean, it's really great that you think that that's something you can bring up to him.
Mhm.
So, how long have you two been together?
Oh gosh. 4 years? 5 years?
Okay, so a while.
Yeah.
So this is something that's been going on theoretically for
Long
quite
time.
some time.
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm curious to know why it is that you haven't brought it up yet,
Mm-hmm.
or in like a separate,
Yeah.
had a conversation about.
I think maybe I'm embarrassed to
Okay.
admit that he makes me feel dumb
Mm-hmm.
because I know that he's gonna feel bad because that's obviously not his intention. And I'm also very much that person that doesn't want to admit when I'm wrong or when I'm upset. So that's a personal thing, of course, but I just don't want to have to admit to him that I feel like an idiot.
And why do you think that is?
Because I think he is so smart and the way he talks is just so grand that I want to be on that level with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I feel dumb, I know I'm not on that level, but I don't want to let him know because then I just feel bad.
Right. Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us, those feelings of, there's a bit of that insecurity there
Yeah.
that nobody likes to feel insecure, right? So that totally makes sense. But perhaps I found that, is there maybe an activity or something that you guys like doing, or is there something you could do? How can we make it so that you would feel more comfortable bringing it up? Like, is there a certain place you could go, or a certain, kind of environment you'd like to be in that?
Yeah. That's a good idea, actually. I never thought of that. I think maybe sort of like a cozy environment, like sort of a home or somewhere where it's private, but you can still have that conversation would probably be a good idea.
Would be a good idea. So, do you two live together, or no? Okay. Not yet. That's fine. But when you're together, is it usually like at one or the other's home? Like, would you feel more comfortable maybe at your place versus his? Like, is it?
Probably.
Yeah.
My place would definitely be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then perhaps, we've kind of got that down about, okay, you've got a place, we've got, you know that it's somewhere where you're going to feel safe and you're going to feel, comfortable and secure, which is important because it's hard, these conversations can be hard to have, right? So that's great. Okay. And is there kind of a timeline that you're hoping? I would assume sooner than later.
Yeah,
generally.
sooner's probably better. Yeah, I think tensions are still a little high, so it might not be a great conversation for, later today, but maybe like next week or something, I could sit him down and have a conversation.
And is it, so when you guys have like a disagreement or something like that, is it usually resolved in a way of like, we're just going to be mad at each other for a few days until eventually it just kind of dissipates and then we just go back, and hence why sometimes these things can recur? Or
we're actually usually the opposite.
Okay.
We're very much those people that always agree, like, we're never going to go to bed mad. We always need to, talk about things. If you ever have a problem, bring it up early before it builds and continues. Says I, who doesn't, but but just last night was a whole different ball game. So I did eventually just say, I need to be up early, I'm going to bed. And I just left it because I didn't have the time to sit and argue it out. And he's also very stubborn. So if you don't agree with him, he's not gonna see your side. So he'll keep going and going and going and going. So normally we're open to conversation.
Right.
Last night we were not open to conversation.
well, and I suppose especially you would have recognized that, hence why you kind of stopped it. So I think it's really good. So I guess next, because we've kind of come up with, you're thinking next week maybe, let things kind of simmer, and that also might give you time to kind of come up with
Mhm.
how you want to approach it, what you'd like to
Yeah.
say. So do you have any ideas on that? How to bring it up?
Mm-hmm. I haven't thought about it too much, but
What do you think, like what's worked in the past if you've ever had to have kind of a,
usually if you just bring it up in a very serious but honest way, just sort of like, hey, you know, remember last week when we had an issue, I just want to explain where I came from. I think just that sort of directness and honesty is probably the best way to work with him.
and then do you have an idea of how you maybe like to word it? Because if I'm right, you mentioned the fact that, you know, it can be frustrating because you feel like he's so smart in his language, and then when you feel like you're not at that level, it makes you feel like you're dumb, and you're not, and we don't want you to feel that way. So, you know, perhaps if you have kind of an idea of how you'd like to say it, then you won't get choked up or caught up in the, he's smarter than me, and this and that, and putting yourself down.
That's a really good idea.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, do you have like some ideas on how maybe to word it? Do you want to like practice?
Yeah.
Or
that would be helpful. Yeah. I haven't thought about it too much because I'm still really pissed.
Yeah.
But I think like a genuine, just like, we were both angry that we weren't sort of listening to the other person's side. So sort of, you know, here's where I'm coming from. Here's, you know, why I flubbed the word, and, you know, here's where that conversation went and how it made me feel. And then, you know, but I'm open to hearing your thoughts and feelings, because I definitely don't want to sort of corner him into like, you made me feel bad.
Right.
Now feel bad for making me feel bad.
Right. But I think, and he sounds, we're at 12 minutes.
Crap.
Okay, so thanks. No, pretend. Okay. We're at the end of our time.
Okay.
Do you feel like we've kind of accomplished, or at least you're kind of on the path of how to work through this? Okay.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about it.
Okay, great. And come back and see me anytime.
Absolutely.
So I meant to bring this up before. During our talk, I would just write down words here and there just to kind of trigger me if I wanted to come back to something. If you want to take it, just so you know that it's not floating around, there's your name, nothing's on it, but you can take this, otherwise I will just throw it out. So
Perfect.
whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you. I forgot you guys.
Yeah.